I think a lot about spiritual gray areas in life. And I'll be honest with you, even after you connect with God, the constant tests that we get do not stop. People say, does the suffering just end when you connect with God, or you are enlightened? Or no, it just takes on different challenges and different forms. You've passed the tests that had gotten you to that area. I've gotten through so many things after my back surgeries and the depression and the fighting with family and friends and pushing them away and all those things, the isolation. But then new challenges pop up. The thing is, God grants me a serenity to carry me through those times. I wanted to discuss a little spiritual gray area I've been thinking a lot about lately. That now it seems to, I don't know if it really will apply to me, but I have to always be vigilant to look out for. So let's take someone is an amazing speaker. That's their talent in life. They are very charismatic and very great at convincing people or talking to people, and God comes to them and tells them to spread his word. So they start spreading his word, and since they are so amazing at it, they start growing and growing, and suddenly they're ahead of a church, and then all of a sudden that church is a mega church. Or maybe they're a TV evangelist. And they're great at what they do. They're great at showing people the way to Christ and the teachings of Christ. And it seems like, well, that's what they're supposed to do, so why isn't that fine that they are getting rewarded for doing what they're supposed to do? And I've kind of thought that too. I was like, I never expected anyone to really see my videos. I just was honestly kind of doing them just to help, just to have something for my girls when they got older, maybe when I'm passed on, to remember me by. And all of a sudden people started watching it, and really for me it was like 35,000 people I think have seen at least part of my videos, and that is just incredible. More than I thought that I ever would see it in the span of the lifetime of them being up there. So you always have your little angel and your little devil on your shoulders. And your little devil is mainly composed of ego. There's a couple other little inner demons that make it up too, but let's just say it's mainly the ego. And the angel is your heart that is connected straight to God. All love and compassion. There's no jealousy, there's no envy, there's no greed, no nothing in the heart. So the heart is telling me, this is amazing. You are able to reach more people, cast a wider net now, and you're able to help people who you might not have been able to reach before. And maybe this is God wanting me to reach these people, and that's why I had to cast this wider net. But then you have the ego. It's told me, wow, look at all these people who are watching you. Because ego, keep in mind, my ego had been telling me I'm unworthy basically my whole life. The only times I've accomplished anything are when I just ignored it and just did what my heart said. But my ego is telling me, wow, maybe you are worthy. Okay, so why don't you lean into this, and why don't you start doing, whatever on the YouTube algorithms to make your channel even bigger, and so then you can find more people, and then you can start making money, and you can start monetizing, because don't you deserve to make money for your time and for helping people? And that is where the spiritual gray area comes in. Because if God is telling me to cast a wider net, and my ego is telling me to cast a wider net, what do? I obviously know that I need to listen to my heart and to God. But my ego is also there, and if I got to the point where I was making actual money doing YouTube or helping people, then I know my ego would be trying to just grab whatever it could from that. And I do believe in people should be rewarded for the time and effort they put into stuff. But I am not doing this for money, for attention, for fame. I am doing this because God told me to do this, and because this is my purpose, to help people. And I know that I have lived in that hell that many are living in right now for so long, and I do want to dig myself out of that hell. I absolutely do. So where is the line? Well, I've kind of figured it out how it works for myself. Okay? I must stay humbled. I must check my ego no matter what. If I do get to the point where I'm actually making money on YouTube or something, I need to only take what maybe, my house and my cars are all in disrepair. Get to the point where at least I have something that I can get back and forth to the lake where I film these videos, and where my family can live comfortably, but not some great wealth that, overshadows all of what I've worked for in my suffering and what God has told me that I need to accomplish. Because I really, really want to live in the woods comfortably. I don't want fame. I don't want any of that. I just want enough money to be able to live comfortably, take care of my family, and spread God's message just like He wants me to. But I have to check my ego every single day, every single minute of every single day. If somebody's telling me, oh, you're doing, I got so much out of your video, that is exactly what I'm going for. But I can't let my pride swell and my ego swell because of that. My words are coming from what I interpret God. I got a stick on me. What I interpret God is wanting me to tell you. And I never, ever want anyone to think that, oh, well, what does he know? He's just, he's not in our position. He's not poor. He's not hurting and suffering. Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be hurting in this nerve pain for the rest of my life, unless there's some kind of stem cell breakthrough that can magically fix a damaged nerve. Then I will be in this pain for the rest of my life. So I have that going for me. I can hold on to that suffering. I don't like it. No, you don't understand. I do not like the suffering, but I would do all that suffering over and over and over again if it meant getting back to the place where God opened up to me and showed me my meaning. It's all worth it. Every single second of the suffering is worth it. So we all must hold on to our humbleness. We all must check our ego, and we all must extract all the wisdom and the beauty in life, but also know that the wisdom comes from suffering the most. Wisdom doesn't come from good times. Wisdom doesn't come from everything's great and everything's comfortable and now we're just going to fly through life with no problems. No, wisdom comes from all of the hard times. You might not get that wisdom out of there, especially I didn't get the wisdom from it for the longest time. I didn't know how to. I didn't know why I was suffering. I didn't know how to get that that meaning out of that, but now I do. And I want you all to know that I will strive every day, even if my YouTube channel gets bigger, and I hope I never get to the point where, because I try to spend hours replying to whoever needs my help and help them in the best way possible. Every night I try to spend hours, but sometimes I can't do that. And sometimes the comments may slip through the cracks, at least for a few days, because that's just the way YouTube is, I guess. But I am here for you. If you ever see me getting to the point where my message starts changing about any of this stuff, please call me out on it. Because we all need to watch out for each other. We all need to understand that we are in this together. We are all connected. And that one of us having success, I wish every single one of my listeners and all of my family and friends the most success they could imagine, up to the point where it starts to change them. I don't want them to forget, never forget the lessons that you learned during your suffering. That is I guess that's the main point of all this. I didn't really think it through all the way when I started, I guess. And we'll see how that goes. I just got a call while I'm on here. It keeps happening to me, but must be late for dinner. But anyway, so I'm sorry if it just froze up and I look weird, like, ah. We all must hold on to the lessons that we learned during our suffering. We don't have to always live in that suffering. We have to remember that suffering. We have to remember for the ones that we were meant to serve, so we can help others out who are in the same situation. And I understand that with what I'm meant to do, God wants me to walk into the hell of others, not just my own hell. He's already carried me out of my own hell. I still have the pain, but it's not suffering. But God wants me to walk out of my hell and into other people's hell. As I mentioned in another video, kind of like a park ranger going and finding people in the harshest wilderness. So I have to always be able to remember the lessons that I learned during my suffering. And I really do think that you need to remember that too. Even when you find God, and even when you are out of your suffering and your pain, or at least your suffering, you must remember what you learned and what God taught you about that. Because if you start getting more ego-driven and that becomes your life, then you will lose everything and have to start all over. It'll be a relapse. Okay, I hope that message resonates with some, because I know most people watching this are far from that point, and I'm probably far from that point too. But I just want to let you know that if you win the lottery tomorrow and you're all of a sudden a wealthy person and you went from being poor to wealthy, remember what it's like to be poor, and try to find ways to give charity and ways that actually will help people. A lot of the charities aren't even given to people. Maybe try to go out. My hope is one day, if I do make money, this or whatever, I want to go out and just try to help people who were going through the same, either addiction or disability like I was. In the beginning of my disability, I was so scared, and so it was just awful. But I want to remember that so I can always just try to best serve others and to lift them up and to show them, hey, it's going to be okay. And I understand that they might have to go through their suffering too, but we can lessen that suffering so they can just they still have to have hope. Even if they have to go through that suffering, that hope is always welcome. And it always is something that God wants us to spread. Okay, God bless.